Tonight, diesel hits a new high as stations run dry. How the price pressure is hitting SA drivers as help is on the horizon. And the warning from Australia's truckies. These soaring prices could soon see them go bust. Developing news. A horror crash in Burwood. Patients airlifted and roads blocked off. We're live with the latest. Cheaper beef for South Australians. Prices dropping while everything else is rising. But the cost cuts won't last long. And a rest for techs. Why Taylor Walker is being spared the trip to Geelong on Thursday night.
This is Adelaide's 9 News with Brenton Ragless.
Good evening. Record diesel prices are soaring above $3 a litre, with metropolitan Adelaide now feeling the impact. It's pushing businesses to the limit, with fears some could go bust if they don't pass on rising fuel costs.
Pulling in past a diesel sign for almost $3.10 a litre.
Filling up with diesel, half a tank, and it cost 120, I think it was, something like that. So that's a bit of a shock.
If the petrol keeps going up like this all the time, then the prices in the supermarket are going to go up too.
Diesel soaring above $3 a litre for the first time in the north at Cavan and to the south in Eden Hills, as the price spike continues to squeeze hip pockets.
I've got to take my kid to welding in Williamstown tomorrow. I've got to think about that because it puts $30 on my fuel plus his class. So things like that are kind of difficult.
It's a concern if they run out of fuel, definitely. Yes. I'll be confined to home, won't we, Pat? That's not much fun.
At least 18 service stations across Adelaide running dry, no unleaded or diesel left, outlets shutting off pumps. It's a confronting situation for businesses like Toretto Transport.
There's a lot of tension in our industry. People are, when we put our fuel levy up, we're doing it weekly now.
But extra costs being passed on to allow for the soaring fuel prices threatening lucrative business. The Para Hills Transport Company down 30% since the conflict began.
Most of the companies that we work with are trying really hard to work with us, but we've had one national company that we asked for a fuel levy and they cancelled our contract. So $400,000 worth of work has just gone in a day.
And Will Lawrence is at Port Adelaide, where more diesel is about to arrive.
Yeah, that's right, Brenton. Here at Port Adelaide, there should be a ship arriving with around 48 million litres of diesel on board, set to flow through petrol stations right across South Australia. Now, the government tonight is urging motorists to continue to fill up their tanks as they normally would, with shipments continuing to arrive on schedule. Brenton.
Thank you, Will. And it's not just South Australia. The nation's truckies are tonight at breaking point. Transport companies around the country are feeling the pain. Some saying the cost of filling up has jumped more than 80% since last month.
Ray Carlson has been a truckie since 1972. He's driven more than 10 million kilometres, or to the moon and back 13 times. Normally unflappable, he's been shocked by the sudden cost of filling his B double with diesel.
It used to cost about $2,800. Now it's costing me over $5,000.
An extra cost Ray passes on, in part, through a fuel levy paid by the clients for the company he drives for.
Everything from plumbing supplies to new furniture to groceries and clothing across the retail industry.
Long-haul owner-operators particularly stung by steep fuel increases.
That could be all your profit gone and more, so you start running in the red.
The round trip between Brisbane and Mackay is 1,993 kilometres, for which a B-double truck consumes about 1,000 litres of diesel. That cost $1,629 in February. Today it'll cost $2,950, a price differential of more than $1,300 or 81%.
A national emergency, and we need to act fast.
Many truckies on the hook for their fuel bill under contracts that predate the war in the Middle East, some of them not paid for up to 90 days.
Right now, it is absolute chaos on the ground, and I'm hearing from small to medium-sized companies that they are at absolute breaking point.
Our truckies deserve access to a fair go.
The government to remove the 6-month wait to renegotiate freight contracts, and diesel fuel standards will be lowered slightly to ease supply constraints.
A little more flexibility for refiners to switch between fuels as well.
But farmers are warning their costs, plus transport, will be a double whammy for shoppers.
It's a snowballing effect because it's costing us more to freight our commodities but also produce them.
The Fair Work Commission will tomorrow mediate talks between transport companies and industry to work out how best to handle rising fuel costs. But however they shake it, it'll be consumers who'll be paying. For at least as long as Donald Trump wages war on Iran, probably even longer. Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
There are grave fears for 3 people after a serious crash near Burwood. Samantha Hogan is there. Sam, what's the latest?
Brenton, witnesses I've spoken to say a small sedan collided with a cattle truck around 1:40 this afternoon and that there were a number of people in that car. Major Crash Police are still investigating the scene, which is about 2 kilometres from this roadblock behind me on the intersection of Martin Hill and Warren Roads. Closures are currently in place with motorists asked to avoid the area. Locals have described the crash site as a notorious intersection. They say they've been pushing for stop signs to be installed after a number of nasty smashes over the last decade.
Pretty confronting down there. The truck is sort of crossed up at the intersection. The black sedan is off to the left-hand side off the road, and emergency services everywhere, of course.
Right now, we do know one patient is in a critical condition. They've been flowed to the Royal Adelaide Hospital, and Brenton, we're still awaiting information about any others who may have been involved in this serious crash, and we'll bring you those details as they come.
Sam, thank you. The Labor caucus has voted 2 first-term MPs into its new ministry. A record number of members meeting this afternoon at Parliament House. State politics reporter Gus McDonald joins us now. Gus, this comes at the expense of some very experienced front benches.
Yeah, that's right, Brenton. 2 familiar faces have been demoted from the cabinet. That's Nat Cook and Zoe Bettison, while another vacancy has been created by the retirement of Andrea Michaels. That paves the way for the first-time member, Alice Rolls, to swoop into the ministry. Miss Rolls claiming the seat of Unley on Saturday night, turning it red for the first time in more than 35 years. Another surprise, the Premier's former economic advisor and new member for Enfield, Lawrence Benn, receiving the nod to join as an assistant minister, while Northern Suburbs MP Michael Brown and member for Elder Nadia Clancy have been promoted from the outer ministry and will now serve on the front bench. The Premier this afternoon addressing the caucus, congratulating new MPs and acknowledging many still await the counting of votes. Heavyweights Tom Cootes and Tonus and Kyan Ma passionately embracing each other before the meeting. Here's a bit of the Premier's speech.
We see a big opportunity before us at the moment, and I think the electorate has said just get on with it, make the decisions, make the calls.
Portfolios are being allocated by the Premier as we speak, to be announced at a swearing-in ceremony at Government House tomorrow morning. Brenton.
Great stuff, Gus. Thank you. City trams will be closed across the Easter long weekend, starting on the Thursday before Good Friday and not resuming again until Tuesday. The lines will be closed so safety screens can be installed on the new South Road overpass. Substitute buses will replace trams with extra services to the football and A-League soccer matches. The US president has backed away from his threat to carry out strikes on Iran. Donald Trump saying the United States has held very strong talks. But tonight, Tehran flatly denies any negotiations are underway.
The US president visiting the home of the king.
Who doesn't love Elvis? Everybody loves Elvis.
As Donald Trump declared it's now or never for Iran to make a deal, and the two sides are talking.
They called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal.
But Iranian officials say
fake news.
That is fake news. No negotiations have been held with the US, said the Iranian parliament speaker, declaring it's a claim being used to manipulate the financial and oil markets. And the markets are responding. The potential off-ramp of war tonight offering some hope. Stocks have rallied, oil prices are down, and Donald Trump has declared the two sides will meet soon.
We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
This is the most optimistic tone Donald Trump has struck when it comes to any sort of resolution to the conflict in Iran. But tonight, there's little clarity to the execution, with Washington and Tehran locked in a he said, he said.
They're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead.
Negotiations or not, America's campaign rolls on. There's been more than 9,000 strikes on Iran since the war began. Today, Israel targeting Tehran in further wide-scale strikes against the regime. The state of the war and the question of where negotiations stand weighs heavy and unanswered. In Washington, D.C., Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
The family of a woman who died after being given a double dose of heart medication at Modbury Hospital has spoken outside court, telling 9 News of their pain. An inquest is now examining why the dose was administered and if it caused the mother of two's death.
Yolanda Beltran-Japson was the heart of her family until the day her own stopped.
She was my best friend and she was wonderful. She was always happy to help anyone. Life just hasn't been the same without her.
The 71-year-old suffering cardiovascular collapse just hours after being given a double dose of heart medication ordered by a doctor at Modbury Hospital. She'd arrived there the previous evening complaining of swollen lower limbs and shortness of breath. By 10:15 the next morning, the mother of two was gone.
It was really traumatic. I'd seen it all right in front of me while with the resus.
The breast cancer survivor's family today attending an inquest which heard the 50-milligram dose of metoprolol was administered to help slow Mrs. Japson's heart rate, recorded at 120 beats per minute. But her pulse dipped too low. Hospital staff commencing CPR, but to no avail. The doctor who ordered the dose, Dr. Entazar Mohammed, telling the coroner she believed the patient could tolerate the dosage, even though Mrs. Japson's heart was already in failure. Dr. Mohammed told the court she administers a 50-milligram dose of metoprolol up to 4 times per week, and in her 20 years of experience, she's never seen it cause a patient to deteriorate. Whether it caused Mrs. Japson's condition to worsen, now a question for the coroner.
What happened, I knew wasn't right.
The inquest continues tomorrow. Ella Duffy, 9 News.
A suspicious blaze has ripped through a Davern Park home. It was a passing motorist who first spotted the flames coming from the roof of the Coventry Road property, calling for help just before 4 this morning. Fire crews stopped it from spreading, but there was little they could do to save the house.
It went up really, really quick, like from just being a glow or from the top of it, and then it just woof up.
No one was home at the time. A once-in-a-generation event. That's how Australia and the European Union are describing the free trade agreement signed today. European products, such as cars, will be cheaper and thousands of jobs will be created. But farmers are warning they'll still have to fight to get meat on the shelves.
With the strike of a pan, Australian businesses get 500 million new customers.
A once-in-a-generation achievement that will create jobs and prosperity for generations to come.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen addressing a joint sitting of Parliament, the first foreign woman to do so.
Building our resilience is today's job. We in Europe have been reckoning with our dependencies.
The $10 billion deal will see 98% of Australian exports enter the EU duty-free, with new markets for manufactured and mineral goods. While European wine, spirits, olive oils and pasta will be cheaper here, big-ticket items like cars and farm machinery should see big drops in cost. There'll also be closer ties in defence, cybersecurity and countering radicalisation.
It opens access to a market of 27 countries and 450 million consumers.
Australian Feta, Prosecco, Parmesan, Kransky and Halloumi can keep those titles despite European objections, but our beef, lamb and goat meat producers say while limits on sales were raised, the cap is still too low.
How there's a level playing field or how it's free and fair is beyond us.
We're left asking, guys, where's the beef here?
There's just nothing here, so why have we signed this deal?
We should be looking to deepen our ties here, not harking back to the 19th century and some Anglo-European past.
This visit and this deal have both been a long time coming, spurred on by Donald Trump's tariffs as America's old partners were forced to look for new partners.
This agreement sent a message as well to the world that it is possible to stick to the rules, to engage in a way that benefits both of our nations.
The deal now requires ratification here and in Brussels. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Well, Tom Rehn has sport a little later. Rennie, the Crows are giving Tex a rest.
Yeah, they are going to, Brenton. As we indicated here last night, Taylor Walker will be spared the trip to Geelong on Thursday night. And a Cats superstar has also been ruled out. Braden Ingram will tell us all about that later in sport. Also ahead, Chad Corns joins us to tell us how the Crows can end a 23-year hoodoo. Also coming up, Aaliyah has been holding on to a little secret. Now he's let it out of the bag. And a South Aussie all-rounder takes the top gong. But Liam's only got eyes for another prize. All that and more coming up later in sport. Raggy.
Thank you, Rennie. See you soon. Still ahead in 9 News tonight, beef relief. South Australian producers with an oversupply of stock, meaning cheaper cuts at the butcher. Those details shortly. Also, the grandfather, who's accused of smuggling heroin into Australia, claims he's been set up. And a little later, the Adelaide buddies from the block shaving for a cause close to their heart. For South Australians, now may be the time to snag some cheap premium meat. Wild weather in northern Australia and beef, which had been destined for the Middle East, is tonight bound to our shores. The oversupply creating delicious discounts.
An Unley butcher already slashing prices after snapping up meat intended for export, passing savings straight to his customers.
Porterhouse, we've got a restaurant grade porterhouse which we're selling. At the moment, we're selling on special for $35.90. Now, we were around $43.90.
Some in the livestock industry say flooding in North Queensland has limited access to northern ports, creating an oversupply of cattle in the region.
For the first time in a long time, consumers are able to buy beef a fair bit cheaper than it has been, and I would advise consumers to take advantage of that while they can.
But cattle farmers on the ground don't expect the price of red meat to drop.
I don't really see that the price of the beef is going to drop in the domestic markets a whole lot, but the big influencing factor will be the fact with fuel.
Meat and Livestock Australia are forecasting 2026 to record the highest beef production in 50 years. But petrol pain could soon impact the availability of meat on our shelves.
The fuel price becomes financially non-viable, then that is what you would see a slowdown in the flow of animals from Queensland, Northern Australia to Southern Australia.
Lower meat prices aren't expected to last, with fuel stocks impacting the supply chain. Consumers are encouraged to stock up if they come across a good deal. Sally Marshall, 9 News.
The streets of Melbourne were taken over by 30,000 teachers today, striking over pay for the first time in 13 years. 500 state schools were affected or closed by today's industrial action, with more strikes expected. Around 3 million Australians could be in line for a pay increase if the Australian Council of Trade Unions gets its way. It's calling for a 5% increase to minimum wage, which would bump the hourly rate to $26. A full-time worker would bring home $51,000 a year.
These workers are the ones that have felt cost of living pressures the most out of all of the workers in Australia.
The Fair Work Commission will now consider the proposal. A grandfather claims he was set up by scammers when the little gift he was asked to bring into Australia turned out to be a stash of heroin. The 70-year-old says an out-of-the-blue email promised him millions of dollars, but instead it's landed him on trial.
Barry Calverley, fresh off the plane from Vietnam and straight into the sights of the Australian Federal Police.
You have imported heroin into the country, allegedly into Australia.
Allegedly, because I didn't know what was in the bag.
Arriving at Sydney Airport in January 2024 with this foldable camping bed packed in his luggage. Police discovered heroin stashed inside.
I want them to catch them on this, to set me up and stranded here.
The 70-year-old now on trial, accused of importing a commercial quantity of drugs. The court heard he'd been emailed by a Rehn Lopez Jr. weeks earlier, who told him he was entitled to $12.5 million, messaging over WhatsApp when she asked him to fly to Laos to sign documents, saying an investor would pay for his flights and hotel, even sending travel money. When he arrived, Barry was asked to bring a little gift back to the so-called paymaster in Australia.
I said to him, I won't take anything illegal, cigarettes or alcohol or something small. He wanted that camping stretcher.
His defence team saying he was groomed and tricked into being an innocent drug mule, and he gullibly accepted this.
How did they get your contact details?
I have no idea.
So what are you saying, that you received an email out of the blue?
Yes.
Calverley told police he'd been scammed before, losing $250,000 and having to sell his house in Bunbury, WA. He said he thought this latest scheme was the scammers trying to pay him back.
I watched this on board security. Yeah, exactly this.
Annalise Bolt, 9 News.
Australia's airport and tourism bosses are urging the federal government to modernise our borders by ripping up paper arrival cards in exchange for a digital system. The group argues the current arrival experience for travellers is outdated and falling behind the rest of the world.
It is the ultimate brand moment. When people arrive or leave Australia, they form an opinion based on what happens for them at the border.
The group takes its case to government officials in Canberra tomorrow. In the news ahead, the investigation into a deadly runway collision begins as the moment a fire truck and Air Canada plane crash into one another in New York is caught on camera. The details next. Also, ambulances torched in an arson attack on a Jewish medical service. Out of prison, why convicted baby killer Kelly Lane's back in court. And the advice on how to avoid spending more for less on an Easter favourite. Survivors are sharing their stories after the deadly Air Canada plane crash in New York City. One woman was ejected from the plane while still strapped to her seat and was hurled 100 metres from the wreck.
Touchdown, turning deadly in seconds.
Oh, God.
The Air Canada plane coming in fast when a fire truck crossed onto its runway.
He landed and it kind of like jolted the plane, and then you just hear this huge boom. Every time I close my eyes, I hear the crash. I hear our screams. I hear the panic.
30-year-old Antoine Forrest, one of 2 pilots killed.
They are absolutely heroes in my book. They saved us and they weren't able to save themselves.
The light of day revealing the damage. The cockpit crushed. The fire truck a crumpled wreck on its side. 72 passengers and 4 crew were on board the flight that landed at LaGuardia Airport. 2 officers were inside the vehicle hit.
That 41 passengers and crew were transported to the hospital, as well as the ARF officers.
Most have been discharged, but some are seriously injured.
That wasn't good to watch. Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my staff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up. No, man, you did the best you could.
The vehicle was responding to another aircraft operated by United that had reported an issue with odor.
Flight attendant Solange Tremblay survived with a broken leg after being found by rescuers on the ground, still strapped to her seat. Her daughter revealing she was ejected more than 100 metres from the plane. Flights in and out of one of New York City's main airports grounded for much of the day, leaving travellers stranded as investigators, not planes, took to the runway.
They made a mistake. It's a dangerous business. That's terrible.
Hannah Sinclair, 9 News.
An Iranian-aligned terror group is claiming responsibility for an arson attack on Jewish community ambulances in London. UK police say they still need to authenticate that claim, but they are treating it as a hate crime. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has labelled the acts deeply shocking and anti-Semitic. No arrests have been made. Colombian soldiers have raced to rescue their own after a military plane crashed in the Amazon, killing at least 66 people. 125 were on board the aircraft, which went down shortly after takeoff. Notorious baby killer Kelly Lane has been given special permission to leave prison to support her long-term boyfriend who's fighting his sacking as a Catholic school teacher. The murderer's relationship with Patrick Croghan is at the centre of unfair dismissal case.
Reunited in a courtside cafe, Kelly Lane ditching her prison uniform for a power suit. The 51-year-old supporting her long-term lover in his own legal battle.
Kelly, what does it mean to support Patrick today?
Repaying Patrick Croghan for his loyalty since she was convicted of the 1996 murder of her newborn daughter Tegan.
Did you kill the child?
No, I did not. I did not do anything like that.
Their relationship has stood the test of time, but it's cost Croghan his job of 3 decades. Employed by St Pius College at Chatswood in 1997, the PE teacher was allegedly sacked last year for using his school email to speak with media about his girlfriend's case, which had hit the headlines again due to no body, no parole laws.
Would you like your job back? Do you think you were sacked because of your relationship with Ms Lane?
The Fair Work Commission heard the school supported but wasn't thrilled about the veteran teacher's choice of partner, accusing Mr Croghan of multiple serious breaches of policy.
This is the first time in months Lane's been allowed to leave prison since her privileges were taken away for violations. She's been granted special supervised leave to support Patrick, her every move here monitored by 2 chaperones.
The baby killer is tonight back behind bars with another 2 years to serve of her maximum 18-year sentence. Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
Still ahead this Tuesday, the Aussie backyard's growing in income. The investment properties that could be right under your nose. Nine's money editor Effie Zahos explains next. Also, fewer eggs in the basket. The new wave of shrinkflation melting expectations this Easter. And the Block Buddies braving the razor for a cause close to their hearts. Easter holidays upheaval, petrol prices, rising interest rates, flight chaos.
People still want to travel.
How to lock in savings and take the risk out of your next getaway.
We've introduced a fuel offset voucher.
Kids stay free.
Expert tips for every budget.
Spend that money a little bit more wisely.
9 News, your news, tomorrow at 6. Financial markets rallied today on speculation the US and Iran may be on speaking terms. Here's Chris Kohler with the details.
It may not be true, but as soon as Donald Trump said Tehran wants a deal and that he's been having productive conversations, the market took off. The ASX jumped 1.6% at the open, but Iran said there were no talks and it's all fake news. So the rally lost momentum. And our market finished the day only slightly higher. The price of oil plunged back below $100 a barrel, but it didn't stay there long. So it seems if there is any optimism to be had, traders will take it, which is more than can be said for most Australians right now. Consumer sentiment data is at the lowest level since records began in 1973. And the Australian dollar is buying 69 US cents, 60 euro cents and 52 British pence.
Thank you, Chris. With affordable housing hard to come by, the popularity of granny flats is surging. While they can provide homeowners with extra income, there are a couple of catches. Nine's money editor Effie Zahos crunches the numbers.
Behind this 4-bedroom family home in Sydney, a $200,000 investment is hiding in plain sight.
Granny flats have come a long way since the garden shed.
Newlywed Andrea and her husband David renting from her parents who built it 3 years ago.
It's a great solution for them, affordable rent for us and future-proofing the property for them as well.
With just enough privacy.
There's the house, there's the granny flat.
NAB reporting a 20% surge in renovation loans as homeowners demand more from their backyards.
And of that, a significant amount to do with granny flats.
It's going to be able to capitalise on land that's already essentially shovel ready.
Budget DIY kits can start under $30,000 from Bunnings. A custom, fully equipped granny flat like Andrea's costs around $200,000. Let's say you rent it out for $500 per week. That's $26,000 a year. After interest, insurance and fees, you're left with $7,500 in profit. The ATO takes a cut of that profit, but depreciation is your secret weapon. Everything from the aircon to the blinds is brand new. You get a massive $8,800 first-year deduction. The paper loss effectively wipes out your tax bill. You're left with $154 in your pocket every week. And you can continue to claim every cent of that $200,000 construction cost over the next 40 years.
The rules do differ from state to state and from council to council, so it's important that you check with your local council first.
There is a major catch. Using a granny flat for commercial rent could trigger some capital gains tax when you sell the family home, so chat to an accountant to understand the implications.
What's it like having your parents as landlords?
Very difficult.
They're not that far away.
No.
Effie Zahos, 9 News.
Easter eggs and hot cross buns have been hit by shrinkflation. Buyers paying 73% more for one box of Cadbury's hollow eggs. Consumers also getting smaller hot cross buns from Aldi. It's the second time both companies have been busted by consumer watchdog Choice. It says to compare brands and double-check the packaging to ensure there's value. They've tackled the block. Now Adelaide's Matt and Robbie have traded their power tools for hair trimmers. The pair today joining the world's greatest shave, with Matt's iconic mullet now lost to history. An act of support for their builder, now turned dear friend.
3, 2, 1.
It's a bold style choice, but one that's close to the heart.
Do you know what? I feel divine.
The Blocks, Matt and Robbie taking on the world's greatest shave, raising money for the Leukemia Foundation. It's off with the mullet and away with the beard.
Oh, look at you. You look like Merv Hughes.
Shaving it off for a dear friend. Their builder on the block, Dave Reedy, unexpectedly lost his wife Carly to an aggressive form of blood cancer during filming last year. She was only 45 and died just 5 months after her diagnosis.
My wife Carly was like a very strong, very funny, passionate person. I just don't imagine many people would think that that's how it ends.
Through the highs and lows, the trio have remained good friends.
And he kept checking in, even though he had everything going on in his life where it was all falling apart, he was still there to support us.
Now the boys are showing their support for their favourite builder, who tuned in for the fun.
What a beautiful pair of fellas to just take on such a great cause.
What's great about this is anyone can take part at any time of the year. These two now join around 20,000 other participants who take part in the shave each year. A link to their fundraiser can be found on the Greatest Shaves website.
These funds and the awareness goes to a really good cause.
Shannon McDonald, 9 News.
Yeah, well done, lads. Great stuff. Now, Rennie's back with sport. Plenty of injuries at the Crows, but you've got some good news tonight.
Well, yeah, it is good because they're not going to have to deal with Patrick Dangerfield on Thursday night, and we know what a player he is. He's been ruled out, unfortunately, through a calf injury. His good mates sitting this one out too. Tex is resting his ageing body. Also, Zach Merritt back from the cold and back in the fold, and how a baby boy is keeping the Socceroos skipper focused. Hello again. The Crows will be down more than 700 games of experience for Thursday night's trip to Geelong, with veteran forward Taylor Walker to watch from the couch. Braden Ingram has the story for us. Braden, the telltale signs were there at main training.
Well, Rennie, as 9 News reported last night, there was a question mark over whether Tex would play, given he did little more than watch yesterday's session, and we now know that he won't make the trip to Cardinia Park. Consecutive 6-day breaks, meaning the Crows will play it safe with the 35-year-old. With Callum Archie and Rory Laird also out through injury, it leaves Matthew Nicks short of that 700 games you mentioned. Hugh Bond and Luke Nankervis are two of the likely inclusions, while forward ruck Finbar Maley is already locked in to make his club debut as Tex's replacement.
He's going to create a big contest. He'll split packs. He'll get at the ball.
He jumps at it, doesn't he?
He jumps at it, yeah. He's very, very electric.
On the flip side, Geelong isn't free of their own injury troubles. Captain Patrick Dangerfield is out of action, with reports he's re-injured the calf he hurt during pre-season. Big man Mark Blitzar's also in doubt after training on his own yesterday. So perhaps that just moves the needle back in Adelaide's favour just that little bit in the search of their first win in Geelong since 2003. Rennie?
It's been too long, hasn't it, Braden? Let's hope they can get it done on Thursday night. Well, the Power are set to make 2 changes. That's for Sunday's clash against West Coast, with Ollie Wines and Lockie Jones tipped to come in for injured skipper Connor Rosie and Miles Bergman. And veteran defender Alia has revealed a secret. He recently signed a 1-year extension.
So it's funny you say. I mean, like I had a trigger on my contract, which I was able to hit last year, and yeah, I don't know how that's just sort of come under, come down quietly, but yeah, it's good to be able to, I guess, be here. The club, means so much to me.
He's been such a good pickup. The Power are chasing their 5th straight win over the Eagles. Well, sticking with the Power, and Chad Corns joins us from his SEN studio here in Adelaide. Chad, you called both games brilliantly on the weekend. You would have loved the response from Port.
Hello, Rennie. Thanks for having me again. I loved the response from Port, particularly the way they defended. I thought they were so aggressive with the way they got after the Bombers, causing numerous turnovers. A really, really good response. Their best players stood up and played really well.
It was great to see that. Unfortunately, a couple of big injuries to deal with now. Connor Rosie long-term, Miles Bergman for a week at least. How do they cover those losses?
Yeah, firstly, Connor, I thought he was probably best on ground when the injury happened. Just a shocking injury that could be the year. I hope it's not, but it sounds like it's a very long recovery. And then Miles as well. I thought Miles would have gone into the midfield this week without Connor there, but missing both of them is huge. I'm assuming Lockie Jones will come back in along with Ollie Wines.
OK, we'll keep an eye on that. You said on SEN as well how good a leader Zach Butters is. Do you expect him to really step up now in Connor's absence?
Yeah, he's going to love it. He's going to love the extra responsibility. Not too much will change for him. All he'll have to do is toss the coin and give the pre-game rev up, which I'm sure he will love and the boys will too.
Yeah, he seems like a natural-born leader, doesn't he? Let's move on to the Crows. You're a bit concerned with their speed of ball movement.
Yeah, a lot's been spoken about it. The Bulldogs did really well getting numbers behind the footy, so it made it hard for the Crows to play with real speed. I think they've got to look at getting some more kickers behind the footy. I'm not sure who that is, maybe Nankervis. Just get another one that can take the game on and try and get the ball back through the corridor and then play quickly off that.
And a huge challenge this week. The Cats in Geelong, they haven't won there for 23 years. Got to be tough. What do you think the key is to causing an upset there?
Well, you've got to start well, Rennie. And experience against Geelong, their backs can be a little vulnerable if you're playing with real speed on the game. So if the Crows play the way they did in the first half on Friday night, that'll play right into Geelong's hands. So they're going to have to take the game on.
Cannot wait to see how it goes. You're absolutely smashing it, Chad, on SEN. We cannot wait to see you again next week.
Thank you, Rennie.
On your Cornsey, well, Essendon legend Tim Watson has come out swinging, declaring his former club is now at ground zero. Such is the desperation at Bomberland. Zach Merritt, who wanted out at the end of last season, has now been re-embraced by the leadership group.
After stepping down as captain and removing himself from the leadership group at the end of last year, it wasn't long until Zach Merritt's services were again requested.
He's a leader of this group. He's been a captain of this football club.
The 30-year-old invited to a leadership meeting this morning to help fix the disconnect at the club.
Zach's got so much experience. He's our most experienced, our eldest player. His insights would be lost if we didn't include him in a lot of these chats. You know, he's right in it amongst us. He's not shying away from everything. He knows he needs to improve as well in certain areas, as we all do.
It hasn't been a pretty start to 2026 for the Bombers. Not only is it back-to-back losses, but they've also conceded 278 points.
I think we do have a group that, when the pressure's on us, we might buckle a little bit. And I think we've seen that. We probably go away from what we want to do in offence and defence, and it's human nature, fight or survive, and we're probably in that survival instinct right now.
Club greats also unhappy with how things are being handled. Tim Watson this morning taking a shot at Brad Scott's decision to call out 20-year-old Nate Caddy in a post-match media conference.
To embarrass him maybe and humiliate him
publicly too about, you know, how demoralising it was that he missed that goal. I just don't think that was a clever way to go about it. I think he threw a lot of the team under the bus. They are at ground zero, Essendon, in their rebuild right now.
If there was ever a reason for Bombers fans to be hopeful this weekend against the Roos, it may come from the fact that not since 2016 has Essendon lost to North Melbourne.
Trent Neese, 9 News.
All right, let's get to cricket now. And South Australia's Liam Scott has been named Sheffield Shield Player of the Year as anticipation builds ahead of this week's final in Melbourne. The 25-year-old finished the season with 496 runs at an average of 41, whilst also claiming 23 wickets from 9 matches. But the modest 25-year-old won't be taking his eye off the task at hand, and that's back-to-back titles.
And obviously it's nice to be rewarded with that accolade, but in saying that, you know, we got a massive game this week, and I trade it all for coming away with the trophy. So.
Yeah, let's hope they get it done. The Sack is chasing those consecutive titles, with the final getting underway at the Junction Oval. That, of course, is in Melbourne starting Thursday. To soccer now, Adelaide United striker Luka Jovanovic has credited coach Anton Andrioli for his impressive form so far this season. The 20-year-old bagged a brace against the Western Sydney Wanderers and has now scored 9 goals for the season, putting him just 1 shy of the Golden Boot.
I've been starting nearly almost every game this year, and I think, you know, having a coach that trusts me is very important, and it gives me a lot of confidence. So I think that's what's helped me, you know, execute my game.
The Reds host the second place Auckland FC on Friday night. Well, Socceroos skipper Matt Rehn has found new spark through fatherhood as the Aussies get stuck into World Cup preparations. The goalkeeper, confident being dad to 6-month-old son Preston, has improved his mindset ahead of a friendly against Cameroon in Sydney.
I think it really helps in sort of recognising that there's all of a sudden something more important in the world than sport or other aspects of your life, you know, and it kind of almost takes the edge off a little bit.
The Socceroos also play Curacao at Amy Park next Tuesday night before heading to North America for the World Cup. Always such an exciting time. Let's hope they can get through to the knockout stages.
Thanks so much, Rennie. Catch you tomorrow. Well, the chance of a thundery shower tomorrow. We're back with the weather forecast right after the break. But for now, keep in mind tomorrow's speed cameras.
Hi, it's Rue Ditson Loves from Triple M Breakfast.
Turn us on tomorrow morning for the latest Adelaide news, traffic and weather. And don't miss Adelaide's most listened to segment, The Rumour Mill.
On 104.7 Triple M.
We'll still enjoy the warmer weather for the next 24 hours, but it's going to feel a lot more tropical tomorrow before a cool and cosy end of the week, which does present some hidden dangers. And I'll forewarn you about that in just a minute. But in Adelaide today, a mild 20 overnight before a late max of 33 soon after 4 p.m. Right now in the city, it's still 29. And warm and dry across the suburbs too. 33 at Mawson Lakes and 32 at Glenelg. Across the north, tops of 35 degrees for the Iron Triangle, 34 at Roxby Downs and Ceduna. Further south, 29 at Keith, Hindmarsh Island and Narracourt. Looking to the satellite, today's cloudy conditions were brought on by a broad trough of low pressure that, combined with a cold front clipping the southeast quarter tomorrow, could trigger thundery showers across the southern agricultural area. Then, in the wake of that, we'll be in a cooler southerly airstream for the rest of the week. Around the nation, sunny in Perth with 32, 31 for Darwin and Cairns. Showers developing across Melbourne, Hobart and Canberra, but sunny in Sydney with 28. Back to our state, we start to see the impact of that change in the northwest. Cloudy and 25 in Ceduna, 29 with the possible thundery shower for Whyalla and Clare. And those showers more likely in the south, 24 across KI with 23 for Mount Gambier. Taking a look at metro waters, variable winds about 10 knots at first, tending southwesterly to 20 from midday, with seas increasing up to 1.5 metres through the afternoon. Now, a clear night across the suburbs this evening before a possible shower tomorrow, reaching tops of 27 in the hills and south and 28 degrees north of Adelaide. A low overnight of 20 across the city before maxing out at 27, but with the chance of a thundery shower from late morning throughout the afternoon. There's still the chance of a shower on Thursday, maybe Friday, 20 is the top, but I want to draw your attention to Saturday morning especially, with a high to very high risk of sleeping in. 3 factors to consider. It's a Saturday for one, with a low of 11, making it one of the coolest mornings we've seen so far this year. And we're only a week out from the end of daylight saving, so the mornings are particularly dark. If you have an early commitment on Saturday, even Sunday for that matter, you may want to consider setting 2, possibly 3 alarms. Then we're back to a warmer trend with daytime temperatures in the high 20s from Sunday through to Tuesday. And that rounds out our bulletin for this Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us here on 9. Time now for a current affair, more updates to follow, then our late news at 11. From all the team, we hope you enjoy your evening here on 9. Good night.